You just agreed to sell your home. Maybe you shook hands with a buyer. Maybe your agent called and said, "We've got an accepted offer." Maybe you and a neighbor or family member finally agreed on a price. Whatever it looks like, you're at that moment where it's real. I'm selling. Now what actually happens between today and closing day? I'm Jeremy Danilson, an Iowa real estate attorney. I've helped hundreds of Iowa sellers get from that handshake moment to a smooth closing where the money lands in the right place and the keys change hands without drama. In this video, I'm going to give you a clear map of what happens next, and more importantly, the 3 big things that need to be protected along the way: the deal you agreed to, the title to your property, and the money you walk away with. If you stick around, you're going to understand the whole path from handshake to closing, and you'll know exactly where an attorney actually makes a difference, whether you have an agent or not. This is for you if you're selling a home or residential property in Iowa. You either already have an accepted offer or you're close. You don't want surprises, delays, or "I didn't know that" moments between now and closing. By the end, you'll know the normal timeline from accepted offer to closing, the key steps people skip that cause the biggest headaches, and how having an attorney involved changes the experience with or without an agent. And if you already know you want help with your specific sale, there's a link in the description. You can book a short call with me, and we'll walk you through your situation. Let's get into the 3 protections. Protection number 1, protect the deal you think you made. The first thing that has to be protected is the deal itself. Here's what I mean. Agreeing on a price feels like we're done, but the price is just one line. The real deal is everything in the purchase agreement. Whether you're working with a real estate agent using a standard form or selling privately to a family member, neighbor, or a buyer you found on your own, you still need a written purchase agreement that actually matches what you think you agreed to. A good purchase agreement will clearly spell out price, closing date, who pays which closing costs, inspection and financing contingencies, how repairs or inspection issues are handled, what personal property stays with the house, when the buyer actually gets possession. Where do sellers get burned here? They think "as is" means no inspections, when the contract says otherwise. They agree to seller-paid closing costs without realizing what that number actually is. They assume they can stay a week after closing, but the contract says possession at funding. They use a downloaded form for a family or neighbor deal that leaves out important protections. If you have an agent, they will normally draft the agreement. If you don't, someone still will. You, the buyer, or an attorney. My view is simple. This is the first place where having an attorney's eyes on the deal makes a big difference. At my firm, we can draft the purchase agreement for you or review one that's been drafted by an agent or the buyer and flag the things that don't line up with what you thought you were agreeing to. Once the contract is signed, everything else you do is built off of that document. So protection number 1 is making sure the paper actually matches the handshake. Protection number 2, protect the title to what you're selling. The second thing that has to be protected is the title to your property. This is the part most sellers never see, but it's where a lot of deals get delayed or blown up if no one's watching it closely. In Iowa, we use a system built around the abstract of title. If you've never heard that term before, here's the quick version. The abstract is a running history of your property. It shows every deed, mortgage, lien, easement, and court action recorded against your property going back sometimes over 100 years. It's the raw material we use to figure out whether your title is clean. Here's what happens in a normal sale. Your closing team orders the abstract. That might be through your attorney or settlement agent. At my firm, once we're engaged on a closing, we start by getting the abstract updated through the date of your purchase agreement. An attorney reads the abstract and issues a title opinion. That means we go through the history and answer questions like, is there a current mortgage that needs to be paid off? Are there old mortgages that were paid but never properly released of record? Are there judgment liens or tax liens that attach to your property? Does the legal description stay consistent over time, or did someone type it wrong 20 years ago? We tell you what needs to be fixed before closing. That written title opinion becomes the checklist for clearing title. What kinds of surprises show up here? A prior owner's old judgment that's still tied to the property. A mortgage that got paid off but never recorded as released. A missing signature on a deed in the chain. Legal descriptions that don't match between documents. Most of these issues are solvable, but only if someone finds them early and knows how to fix them. In Iowa, the attorney's review and the title opinion are what make it possible to issue a title guarantee certificate through Iowa Title Guarantee instead of traditional title insurance. Practically, that means someone actually read and understood the history of your property. Someone is willing to put their name on a document saying, this title is good, once the issues are resolved. At my firm, we build this into our seller representation. With our higher protection tiers, we not only identify the title issues, we cover most non-court title cleanup work at our expense, so you're not getting surprise title bills on top of everything else. In other cases, if there's extra work needed, we bill you up front what it will take to fix. Either way, protection number 2 is making sure the buyer is actually getting the clean title they think they're buying, and that you're not left chasing problems after you've already moved out. Protection number 3, protect the money and the transfer. The third thing that has to be protected is the money and the actual transfer on closing day. This is where everything becomes real for sellers. What am I actually going to walk away with? And is my money safe? There are 2 parts here: the numbers, the security. Let's talk about the numbers first. As you get closer to closing, your closing team prepares a document called the settlement statement. This is the one most sellers care about because it answers, what's the final sale price? What's being deducted for property taxes, existing mortgage payoff, fees, and commissions? And what are my net proceeds? In Iowa, property taxes are paid in arrears, so part of this statement is a tax proration between you and the buyer. If you have a mortgage, the payoff has to be ordered and included. If you're paying agent commissions or other fees, those show up here too. At my firm, we go through that settlement statement with you before closing, so you know exactly what you're walking away with, and you can ask questions before you're sitting in front of a notary with a stack of papers. Now on to security. Wire fraud is a very real problem in real estate today. Criminals try to insert themselves into email chains and send fake, updated wire instructions. One wrong digit and your sale proceeds can end up in a scammer's account instead of yours. That's why we use a platform called Closing Lock on every transaction. It lets us verify your identity and the buyer's identity, deliver wiring instructions through a secure portal, not regular email, collect bank details and closing funds without exposing them to hackers. On closing day itself, whether you sign in person or through remote online notarization, the process looks like this. You sign the deed and other seller documents. The buyer brings in their funds or their lender wires them. We verify everything, disperse the money according to the settlement statement, and send your net proceeds where they're supposed to go. We record the deed with the county recorder. From your perspective, closing day should feel like signing some documents, confirming your numbers, seeing the money land where it's supposed to. Protection number 3 is making sure that happens accurately and safely. Let me pull all of this together in a simple timeline. You agree on the deal and get it into a signed purchase agreement. Your closing team opens the file and orders the abstract of title. An attorney reads the abstract and issues a title opinion. Any title issues get cleared up. The closing documents and settlement statement are prepared. You review your numbers, and we finalize the details. On closing day, you sign, the buyer pays, the deed is recorded, and the money moves safely. For most Iowa residential sales, that process takes about 30 to 45 days from signed purchase agreement to closing. Some are faster, some slower, especially if we uncover title issues that need more time. But when you see it as these 3 big protections, your deal, your title, and your money, it stops feeling like a black box and starts feeling like a checklist. The question I hear a lot is, do I really need an attorney for this? Here's the honest answer. Iowa does not force you to have an attorney as a settlement agent. Deals do close every day with minimal legal involvement. Something will still fill that gap. You'll try to figure it out yourself. The generic, non-attorney closer will push the paperwork through, or an attorney will be there whose job is to protect your side. I'm obviously biased, but here's what I've seen in the real world. When no one is clearly responsible for reading the abstract and issuing a real title opinion, title issues get caught late or not at all. When no one is looking at your contract with only your interest in mind, you can end up agreeing to things you didn't fully understand. When security is an afterthought, people rely on regular email for wiring instructions, and that's where bad things happen. A good agent is fantastic at marketing your home and negotiating the deal. That's their lane. Once the purchase agreement is signed, the work shifts into legal and title. That's where an attorney earns their keep. Whether you have an agent or not, the steps we've talked about are the same. What changes is who's helping you navigate them. If you have an agent, they'll usually handle marketing, showings, and negotiation. They'll often be the one to send the accepted contract to a closer or attorney. You still get to choose who that closing team is. If you don't have an agent, maybe you're selling to a family, a neighbor, or a buyer you found online. Then you still need a solid purchase agreement. You still need title work and a title opinion. You still need closing documents, a settlement statement, and secure funds transfer. In those private or family deals, having an attorney guide both the contract and the closing process does double duty. It protects you legally and helps preserve the relationship because the expectations are clear and the work is professional. What should you do next? If you're already under contract or close to it, and you want someone to walk with you through these three protections, the deal, the title, and the money, my firm does this every day. We have 3 levels of seller representation, starting with our assured, premium, everything handled experience for sellers who want maximum protection and handholding. A guided option that gives you strong support through closing without the extras, and a lean essentials closing for price-sensitive sellers who just want the legal foundation handled correctly. The common thread is this: you're not guessing your way from handshake to closing. If you'd like help with your sale, visit danilsonlaw.com or call our office to book a call. We'll talk you through where you are in the process, what's in your purchase agreement, and what needs to happen between now and the day you hand over the keys. If this video was helpful, subscribe to this channel. We put out new content on Iowa real estate closings every month. I'm Jeremy Danilson with Danilson Law. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.